Now, the question has two parts. What is the scope of biotechnology? This I am not going to discuss. Okay, the first part of the question, what is the scope of biotechnology? I'm not going to discuss because I have already explained what is the scope of biotechnology. I am hoping that you've already written something regarding that. My only thing is, how did you start the answer of? Did you directly jump into scope or did you give an introduction? You gave something, you gave some introduction. You gave some, at least you could have written two lines about what is biotechnology. Biotechnology makes use of living organisms or processes for obtaining commercially viable products, or any other good thing that you could have come out with. Start with two lines of introduction for these questions. See, these questions are very direct. So you don't have to write or explain much with respect to anything else. Huh. But here, since the question itself is asking for scope, better to give example for scope. Better to give example for each scope. You will write different scopes. Obviously, you're going to write it in points. So better to give example for different points rather than giving the introduction. Introduction, just two lines, explain what is biotechnology or importance of biotechnology you may write, and then you write the scope. Scope I will not discuss. Next, coming to relevance of biotechnology in India. Now I'll tell you what most of you would have done. You would have continued writing scope itself once again for relevance in India. Correct or not? Mostly. Mostly. No, it may not be exactly, but you would have picked up on the same lines. Say, for example, relevance in India, Andre, you would have written agriculture as one scope. You would have written again agriculture. How is biotechnology used in agriculture in India? That is what you would have written. Correct? Yes or no? Online also. Correct? That is what you would have done. You would have written, for example, pharmaceutical is the scope, medicine is the scope. Then you would have written about how is pharmaceutical used in India in scope. I'm not saying that is not wrong, but what I'm saying is that you could have given those examples in the scope itself so that you could have written something else or new in the relevance for India. Okay, so I'm just giving you a different dimension as to how you could have written, because I'm pretty sure online also, I'm hoping that you would have done the same thing. Okay, so you'd have extended on whatever you've written under scope for relevance in India as well. But I am saying you could have done something else. Okay, for example, you could have written what is the relevance of biotechnology in India. You could have written that in India, we have skilled population, young population who are skilled in biotechnology and engineering field and technology. So the role of biotechnology, relevance of biotechnology is that it could have increased employment in India. Written, so something like that you have to write, something different. Okay, it could have contributed to employment in India. Okay, for example, you have different kinds of projects and research work which is taken up where India may not have the resources or the funding. Therefore, India can collaborate with other nations, which will once again promote science diplomacy and relationship or soft power of India. Correct? Then you could have written about, say, India is the pharmaceutical capital of India. Sorry, pharmaceutical capital of the world. Correct? Sorry? Correct. It is the largest exporter of cheap drugs, inexpensive drugs which are affordable. So, focusing on biotechnology will help us in improving this. See, as of today, we have not yet discussed all these things. I'm just saying we are heavily dependent on China. We are heavily dependent on China for something known as API for manufacturing drugs. So this actually makes us, even though we are considered to be the pharmaceutical capital of the world, the input for the medicine is coming from China. Okay, so this we have to work on. This we have to work on. Okay, then, you have something. Huh. Okay, you can fight about finding a cure for it. Okay, now with respect on his point itself, I'm saying, okay, now for example, Indian population is a bit different from other populations of the world. Obviously, we have certain differences. See, humans, all of us, more than 99% of the DNA is similar, is the same. But still, even very tiny, minute variations will bring about so much of differences. So what happens is that most of the research on drugs, medication processes is done on Western population. is done on Western population. So what we can do is that whenever we conduct experiments, we can now focus on the Indian population so that we develop medication or drugs which are more suitable for the Indian population with respect to Indian genetics. With respect to Indian genetics, which will have more efficiency and efficacy on Indian population. Okay, so this is what we have to do in India. So we have to develop drugs which are much, much cheaper and suitable for the Indian population. This is one other area. Okay, similarly, you would have heard about Human Genome Project, that is sequencing of human DNA. This has been done for Western population once again. Why not do it for the Indian population so that we are able to understand the DNA of Indians? Okay, what makes Indians different from the rest of the world? So this will give us more insight as to how do different diseases affect Indians. Correct? How do different diseases affect Indians and what role can it play? Now, all other things I'm pretty sure you would have written, you would have extended on the same agriculture, okay, pollution, okay, food security, all of this like BT cotton, 100% everybody would have written about BT cotton, all these things you would have written. But these are different dimensions that you can more focus more on. Generic drugs, yes, generic drugs, PCR polymerase, again, for that is with respect to vaccine and all, and for producing more DNA strands, of course, that is there. And I'm hoping that you would have written at least somehow you would have linked it to COVID. Yes or no? If you have not, see, that is something that you have to do because it is part of your current affairs. Okay, so vaccines, COVID, help to fight pandemic, something like this, you have to write in your relevance or at least in your scope. Okay, so I'm just giving you value addition with respect to how you can improve your answer. Okay, is this fine? Any doubt online or offline? In the last, can you also include some drawbacks? Oh, sorry, my mistake. Correct. How do you end the answer? Rather than drawbacks, write about giving a suggestion saying that biotechnology is one of the fastest growing sectors in India, but we do not have any ethical code of conduct to regulate it. Therefore, the government needs to bring about ethics or ethical code of conduct in order to regulate it so that whatever research goes on in biotechnology is in the right direction. Then you end the answer. Then you end the answer. So this is how you should write the answer so that you are able to fetch maximum marks. Okay, again, this will come with practice. This will come with practice. Yes, Bharat Biotech, Covaxin, National Biotechnology. See, again, the problem is that all these things are there, but you have to write these things in 2 pages. So that is the problem. How will you fit in all these things into 2 pages? Start implementing the ethical code of conduct at this stage only. At this stage itself, you have to include. Why will you do it after? They have to follow the ethical code of conduct. They will do something. See, the problem with India is that we always have crisis solution. After there is a crisis, then you try to bring about a solution. No, that is not how it works. After there is an accident, then you will build a overbridge. That is not the solution. Okay, you have to bring in ethical code of conduct so that they don't do anything wrong. If you do not regulate this, chances of doing something wrong is very high when in biotechnology. Sir, but the results, the ultimate results are clearly unknown. I mean, they cannot expect the actual result, what they're expecting. So, if we implement these conditions, then what do you mean by ethical code of conduct? Certain ethics that has to be followed, like don't experiment on humans, don't test drugs on humans which may result in harmful effects. Follow certain procedures. If you unregulate any what do you say research process, okay, then people misusing technology, people misusing poor people becomes very high. People misusing animals becomes very high. So if you do not bring about ethics, correct, it can have repercussions. It can have repercussions. For example, COVID is the best example. If you do not bring about ethics, you test whatever you want on virus, that escapes into public, you know what has happened. So that is why you have to bring in ethics in the first place. Not after COVID happens, okay, then we will put a stop to testing on virus. So if ethical code of conduct was already there, it would have not happened. That is what I'm saying. Okay. Is it fine with everyone? Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.